So this is a perception. So this lets me know that there are aspects of our DNA, aka ancestry, that are operating out of the template of oneness, out of the framework of oneness, and don't
Yes.
recognize that.
I don't mean to laugh, but oh yes.
No, laugh away. That when my when those who come after me, the lineage evolves and grows. That helps me. I get greater because we're all this continuum stream of lineage and DNA. But apparently,
well, you're
they
saying
don't
that's
see
how
it.
you're going to be? Is that what you're saying?
That's where I'm
Or
at
you're
right
saying
now.
that's how it was?
That's where I'm at right now, and I'm trying to have conversations with them. Like, look here, guys. Look, this is where we're going. Don't be that loud now.
Do you know that our habits and environment can change the way our genes work? This is called epigenetics, but let me simplify it. Habits and environment can turn your genes on or off, and these changes can be passed on to future generations. Imagine a fruit fly that can jump as high as 8 centimeters. You put the fruit fly in a jar that is 4 centimeters high and cover it, it starts to jump only 4 centimeters. When this fly has babies, they can only jump as high as 4 centimeters, even without the jar. The parents' experience of a restricted jump turned off the gene for high jumping, and this was passed down to the next generation. This also helps us understand the concept of generational trauma and how it works. When someone experiences trauma, this can affect their behavior and change the way their genes work. These changes can be passed down to multiple future generations, affecting behavior, health, and lots more long after the original trauma.
Welcome to Call for the Truth. I am LaOta of the Sun, and this is Tarvars of the Sun, and we are having a conversation today about extricating ourselves from our lineage and our DNA. Tarvars, will you bring us into the Call for Truth first?
Well, certainly, and we encourage you all who are tuned in to join us in calling forth the frequency of truth. Shall we call forth the frequency of truth? Shall we call to see the truth in all that we see? Shall we call to hear the truth in all that we hear? Shall we call to speak the truth, calling forth the courage to speak the truth? Shall we have nothing less than the truth to come forward into our experience? And we are here in the truth, and we encourage you all, if you are continuing to tune in with us and you like what we're doing here, click that like, hit the subscribe button and that bell notification to continue tapped into the truth conversations on the Call for the Truth podcast. So again, LaOta, we are talking about, you said, extricating yourself from the DNA. And so we're looking to really break the patterns. There are things that we all have inherited. Mm-hmm. You know, we were just in story time, you were telling us about it, and there's really with clients what we're seeing where we have inherited not only different constructs and thought patterns that are negative, but also physical ailments and illnesses that are showing up as well that are what people call hereditary, but we know we can change the DNA. There's more than enough science out there for it that supports it for the people who need that. But the understanding is that we start thinking differently, moving differently, everything in our reality begins to change and correspond with the differences. So where would you like us to start with this idea of breaking these habits and changing the DNA?
There's a lot in the media right now about epigenetics, and there's a lot of spiritual talk about ancestors and generational influence. And so I'd like to start there. The idea that we share the same DNA as those who share DNA with us, our parents, our siblings, our extended families, our aunts, our uncles, and grandparents. And these effects are like a hardened blueprint that we are following the blueprint until we decide not to. It is not that we must do that. It is that unless we reprogram or inform it in a different way. It's just the blueprint. It's like the street is the same street that you drive down unless somebody makes a detour and goes the other way. So creation, the part that I really want to get to is that creation favors evolution, change, diversity, creativity. It doesn't cherish sameness. So it's incumbent upon us to move into higher, greater levels of our own life experience. So if we see that we had grandparents who died in wheelchairs or who had limbs removed because of diabetes or who went into debilitating diseases, that then means there's an opportunity for evolution because we can see what happened with the blueprint that's currently established running in our bodies as our DNA. And then we can change that to have a different outcome. So it's not just the medical aspects, it's also the cultural, the bias, all of those other things. What are the things that in our family that people are prejudiced about? What are the things in our family that people have biases with? What are the limitations in the thought about food and where we live and weather and things like that? All of those things, there's an opportunity to expand.
Well, certainly. I want to take it back a little bit on how you were speaking about changing the information.
Yes.
We're acting on the information, the memory that's coded in the DNA,
Yes.
whether it be, again, the regular genome of what's broadcasted or what shows up physically and what's hereditary, but also through osmosis, the way all the things you just said, how we think, how we're trained to perceive certain things in our reality socially. And when you were speaking on it, I was looking at it from the perspective of, okay, DNA is information, it's a broadcaster. We also know it's biophotonic. So the light, the information is broadcasting, but we can change that, But then you said something along the lines of the pull of the DNA, but I also saw it where it's not just those from our past, it's also those who are living. I've
Absolutely.
seen this, and I really would like you to speak on that idea of how I think some of you all may resonate with this, where you have living DNA or ancestry or family members who are behaving in ways that you're looking to move out of, and there is a gravitational force to essentially replicate the behavior, unless you will yourself to pop out of that field. And like you say, instead of go this route, we decide to make that left turn.
Yes, and all of it is available and we can do it. What often happens is that the morphic field, the field of the family, especially as they go to family reunions or they go to church together or they eat dinners together, it reinforces the field.
Every time you do it.
Every time you're with them, there's a reinforced field. So if there's a group consciousness towards, we don't like people who don't get married and have children out of wedlock, or we don't like this thing, or we don't like people who come from North Carolina, or we don't like,
Sometimes it's ridiculous like that.
It's mostly ridiculous like that. All of that is ridiculous. So when that, and you don't, it wasn't even your thought, but you meet somebody and then you're like, because it's still living in the DNA and the DNA is broadcasting and you're in touch with the morphic field, and you may not have identified the things that are the belief systems within the morphic field of the family.
I want to pivot a little bit.
Yes.
What came to mind was how this creates some form of enslavement. I was thinking about the energy clearing protocol and what happens, or what we identify when we're clearing souls, the codicils, these type of contracts and agreements where you didn't necessarily sign on a dotted line, but through osmosis and acquiescence of, I think, what we call traditional norms, there you get locked into, we do this, we think this way. And what I have seen with many souls, myself included, is that when you start following the path that you're destined to go on, there's this inner conflict and this clash and this incongruency deep inside of us. So
real. I have an experience with a client whose generational family had prejudice, and it was very deep and very clear for many generations. and she entered into an experience with someone who was on the other side of the ones that they didn't like, and she touched the person and broke out.
Wow.
Because of the DNA is living, whether the relatives are dead or alive. The DNA is active in a living. And so what we're looking at when we see someone who has a prejudice or a bias, we may be looking 100 years out from the past, where it's still running and they don't even know what's driving them. And in every area, that's just one area that I recently had an experience with someone. But it's in child rearing. It's like I heard a comedian saying, my ancestors rose up to tell me, don't let that child touch that thermometer. and what he was saying was true, is that when people hold certain values, and they hold them as vows, they hold them as the truth, then it doesn't mean they're the truth. It means that they have made a pact with that idea, and it is in the DNA. It is written into the program. So it's like a computer program. It can only put out what's written into it. And so to change, this broadcast is really to talk about ways in which you can change that.
Yeah.
And there are many ways, many ways that we won't be able to cover, but we have a few practical ways in which people can.
Before we dive into that, I want to cover the way in which ancestry presents itself, because as you're expounding on this, it may be a little different than what some people would consider interfacing with ancestry.
Yes.
Because one of the ways that, let's just lay out the ways that you've mentioned. There is the just information broadcasting from the DNA, but then like there's memory, which is information as well, but it comes up differently, and sometimes people may hear and see, feel things that's not themselves but feels familiar, that rises up. So for me, it's showing that there's a multifaceted way in which the ancestry is well and alive and brought, like you say, 100 years back, still broadcasting now to say, hey, don't do that, or some type of self-sabotage. This is something that I see when we do Akashic record readings, where disagreeables who want maybe, say, a woman, for example, to perpetuate being in bondage and enslavement to the patriarchy, a male, right? And sometimes it's ancestors who don't, they're in real firm about it. But we can see that there's a reinforcement in whatever way that's broadcasting to, as you said, to replicate the behavior.
What happened with you, and we've talked about this on podcasts before, that when you decided to be in support of the divine feminine, when you understood that it was in the highest and best interest of all who are living to do that, and you called forth the divine feminine to be in support of it, part of the divine masculine was not just the morphic field of the divine, it was your ancestry.
Yeah.
Your ancestry, like, boy, what you doing?
What the hell? That's what it felt like. Every time I tell the story, it felt like, what the hell is going on here? Like, getting up out the chair, you done made me get up.
That was ancestry. Like. That's how that felt if you try to go against it.
Yeah.
So the prompting, it is only through your many years of education and of the sun in our direction that it even occurred to you. It was not a thought that you were having 20 years ago.
No, but I could see in that time, which it puts me in a position of clarity that whenever we're making breakthroughs, it's multifaceted. You're dealing with your soul, you're dealing with your ancestry, and you're dealing with collective consciousness, the morphic field.
If you're a conscious investor looking to make a difference, you need to hear about Aluka Gold. Because doing good and doing well isn't just a dream, it's our promise. Let's face it, everyone wants their money to work harder. But what if your gold investment could do double duty? Aluka Gold is more than just precious metal. We're committed to ethical sourcing and total transparency, so you know exactly where your gold comes from and who it helps. Every ounce you invest helps support real miners and their communities with humanitarian projects and fair wages. That's not just good business, it's good for the world. You get solid, physical gold. plus the pride of knowing your investment brings hope and opportunity to families who need it most. So why settle for ordinary returns when you can spark extraordinary change? Invest with purpose. Invest with LaOta Gold. Do good, do well, and let your gold investment shine brighter than ever.
So it arises from a variety of different ways, and but the way in which to change is to call for life, to call for value of self, to remember who you are, and then to recognize that the ancestors are responsible for where we are now. That helps put them in perspective.
I think that's so important because,
Like
oh my
you
gosh,
who rising up telling me no, like you're the one responsible for this world falling apart right now, right?
that part. So let's take it there. Let's take it there for a moment, because I see that there needs to be a balance in terms of the relationship that we have with ancestry. I am all about adoration and respect, reverence, but then there's also like, not every ancestor is evolved. And
As you were saying, they're disagreeables. Many are disagreeable, and that's the truth.
why I gotta bribe you to help me? What is that about?
So there's this unseen concept that people have that they think when you die, you get smarter. That's not true.
They stay the same. They're still stubborn and trying to stop you from evolving.
Thick-necked and hard-headed.
Thick neck, yes. The thickest of the necks. Meaty necks, like couldn't chop it with an axe.
So because people have this the reverence for those who have come before, which I'm not saying that shouldn't be if it's deserved, but it should be identified.
Balance.
So because of that, that's where it comes in. They are not our only ancestors. There are ancient ancestors that came who did not walk the third to the 12th dimensional reincarnational cycle, who are our ancestors, because we were seeded here. We are cosmic children. And so those ancestors are waiting for us, but without all of our DNA, we don't have the radio dial. We can't tune them in until you get your DNA connected. You're only hearing static.
Or tuned into that two-strand
Disagreeable.
self-sabotage. Yes.
The disagreeable ancestors who have all the things that all of us who have walked the third, fourth, and fifth dimension have. The illnesses, the picadillos.
The biases.
The prejudices, where we have ancient ancestors that we may call upon who have always been available and willing to help, but we couldn't hear them, but we think we could. It's like I hear you, ancestors. It's like you hear the disagreeables.
I think this is so profound because, we heretics here, and there aren't many. Usually when people are speaking about ancestry, I haven't heard it from more of the cosmic type or that level. It's really just those who have walked the earth and maybe ancient or close to it, it might get to the point of where God, like deities or something that may be associated, but it's still terrestrial is what I'm saying, to this planet.
And much of that is a trick of bring me some food, flowers. If you got some dancing girls and gold, I'll take that too.
So why do we have to do that? If I am you and you are me, if this is oneness and you're in support of me, this, like, for example, my family know when they ask me for money, here, take it. Nope, I don't want to hear it. Just take it. And if you want to give it back. It's this weird, and I know it's important to have reciprocity, but where do we find the balance in that?
Well, there is reciprocity, but we don't know the currency is gratitude.
Ooh, so that's
when I'm speaking to my cosmic ancestors, I am thankful, and they are paid.
And
we are all made greater.
Yeah.
Because we're still trying to use barter with, you want some salt, you want some you want some fruit.
Yo, I got some of that ancestor money. I got some of that afterlife money. I heard this work over there. It's a real thing.
I
No,
know, I know.
yo, I'm
I'm
not trying to
aware of
diminish
it.
it, but I'm like, look, why I gotta do that? What, they got bills to pay over there?
They got status just like they had status here. So
Okay.
the reality is the universal cosmic currency is gratitude. There is nothing greater than my heartfelt thanks. That's the highest frequency. That's the frequency above joy. That's above love. Gratitude is the gift. It is the currency. And this is what we offer those. Often allies come in to assist us from the sun, from different interdimensional places or different other places. And I'll say, what may we do for you? And I said, we are here to do for you because that does for us. You know, like we are all in this galaxy together.
So this is a perception. So this lets me know that there are aspects of our DNA, aka ancestry, that are operating out of the template of oneness, out of the framework of oneness, and don't
Yes.
recognize that.
I don't mean to laugh, but oh yes.
No, laugh away. That when my when those who come after me, the lineage evolves and grows, that helps me. I get greater because we're all this continuum stream of lineage and DNA. But apparently,
you're
they
saying
don't
that's
see
how
it.
you're going to be? Is that what you're saying?
That's where I'm
Or
at
you're
right
saying
now.
that's how it was?
That's where I'm at right now, and I'm
That's
trying to have
right.
conversations
That's
with them.
right.
Like, look here, guys. Look, this is where we're going. Don't be that loud now.
So the beauty is this: the universe is so beneficent. The beauty is we get ourselves straight; they get straight. The ancestors in detriment and the disagreeables. There's nowhere to go. But if you shine light in the room, there's nowhere to go. But be light. So what we do in our now moment, right now, with our lives, affects everything in every dimension, in all the galaxies. You know, our developing our gratitude as the currency of our lives affects everything. There's nothing that can be unaffected by that light. That's light.
I think this is so important and speaks as a solution to the example we were given earlier about the individual who's really bombarded by the DNA and on some form of an autopilot. Negative things physically are arising, but recognizing who and what they are, that their choices can reverberate backwards and forwards. They can change their outcome, their trajectory. And if there's still some living ancestry and those who are non-incarnated or disembodied, everybody can win.
And the reality is that it is in the moment we are in is the biggest opportunity that there ever is until the next moment we are in. And that continues. And I have lived enough of an experience with my own DNA and my own life and my own to know that when I stop being what killed all of my ancestors, I stopped dying and I started living. And here I am.
Let's talk a little bit about that, like the flip side of what happens when you decide to pivot. Okay, the family has always gone here. They made a right. I'm feeling, let's go left. Let's go this way. I want the scenic route. This is where my soul is being called. Like, what happens on both sides of the coin?
Well, in my family, I could see all the women had hypertension and all died by the time they were 55. All of my mother, all of her many sisters, my aunts, my cousins, they all succumbed to the modern way of life and all had hypertension, but they really all died of broken hearts. They really all died of waiting for someone to rescue them, quite frankly. And then the symptoms that followed look like heart disease and look like hypertension. But the reality is that they had given up their power, they had no sovereignty, and they were eating too much out of a desire to get the good feeling from experiences that they were not being able to be satisfied from. So when I got sick, and then healed myself, I then knew that I could not think what they thought, I couldn't eat what they ate, I'd get what they got. And I, in fact, had gotten what they had. So once I cleaned myself up from it, then I made very clear efforts to, I'd be in the kitchen and think, oh, this is the way where my mother put, the garlic powder. I'm going to take all of that garlic powder, all those seasons out of that cabinet and put them somewhere else. Put them in, she kept them high, keep them low. If she thought somebody owed her something, feel like don't nobody owe you nothing.
Yeah.
If she didn't like the way certain people's last names were, embrace it. I really went through an active, aware, conscious effort of shifting the family genetics in my own unseen mind. So I would think different thoughts. My mother used to wear her hair a certain way. I stopped wearing my hair that way. All the things that would keep me activated, that DNA that took me to illness that almost killed me. And that did kill her and killed all the many others, including my other sisters, who didn't do what I did. So this is an important thing. It can be changed, but it has to be actively pursued because so much is secret and hidden.
Yeah, it is giving radical action. That's radical. It's thought, emotion, what you eat, food, lifestyle, who you date, what you do for a living, your
what you
outlook
think about
on
people.
life, society.
In my family, there was so much to do with secrets and hiding what the family did and who had children with who and who did what with what. I actively chose to not care what anybody does. I don't care who they sleep with. I'm not in service to being upset by what anybody does with anybody beside me, or mine. So all of those kinds of things are not one to hide things. You don't watch out. I'll tell you the truth by accident.
Right, you catch strays out here. You should be shooting the truth. Catch it.
But this idea of the method I use is don't think what they thought. If you recognize that you're holding family values and family thoughts that have been in detriment, not the ones that are uplifting, the things that bias, prejudice,
things that aren't serving the growth.
Food desires, wanting to spend money a certain way, wanting to gamble, if those are all things, wanting to have a debaucherous lifestyle. If you see that, shift it by identifying it and then moving in the opposite direction. So don't think what they thought. Don't eat what they ate, and you won't get what they got.
Yes.
That's truly, I actually live by that. And it works, but it requires you to examine your thoughts and to be present in your own mind. Like, why are you doing it that way? Well, my mother did it that way. Well, maybe we could do it another way. Maybe you could do it a way where it won't kill you. Did it kill her? So that's what I offer.
Well, certainly. I think these are some great, again, practical solutions. And I feel like we've covered quite a bit of it from many different ways.
Yes. Would you want to pull a card for our conversation today about
certainly,
ancestors?
That's what we're asking about. To see the truth as it relates to breaking the habits of the DNA.
Make sure we
Negative
remember
habits.
Creation and Creator applaud evolution. We don't want to make our disagreeables great again. We want to we don't want to find the old thing that didn't work and revive it. We want to do something new. What is the card today? You're smiling.
The card theme is love. Heart chakra. The maxim reads, love should look and feel like love. Control doesn't feel like love. Appeasement doesn't feel like love. Yelling doesn't feel like love. Manipulation doesn't feel like love.
So the card finished the podcast.
If you'd like to purchase Call for True Divination cards, they will be in the description. As you can see, if you've been following us on these or watching, tuning in, these cards are the truth. And I'm just gonna let the card end it because That was beautiful.
I think so too. We thank you for joining us. We hope you'll join us again. We give you the greetings of In Lakesh and Veritas with honor, respect, and gratitude to you. Thank you.